Okay, let's be honest, who doesn't love that perfect golden, crispy bite? Whether it's a French fry or a potato chip, that satisfying crunch and salty flavor is pretty much a universal pleasure. It seems so simple, doesn't it? Just potato, oil, and a little bit of heat.
But what if I told you that in that moment of delicious transformation, when a pale slice of potato turns into this golden wonder, there's some really complex chemistry going on. It's a process that creates not just that amazing flavor, but a few other things you might not even know about.
So let's dive right in and kind of peel back the curtain. What's actually being formed when we apply all that heat to our favorite plant-based snacks?
All right, in this first part, we're going to uncover what's hiding inside. We'll look at a chemical that gets created during the cooking process, and then we'll tackle a more familiar foe we all love, maybe a little too much, salt.
Okay, let's start with the one you've probably never heard of. It's a chemical with a pretty complex name, but its origin story is actually simple, and it all starts with heat.
So what even is acrylamide? Well, according to the FDA, it's a chemical that can form in certain foods, mostly plant-based ones, when they get cooked at really high temperatures. And the reason it's on our radar is because it's, and I'm quoting here, reasonably anticipated to be a human carcinogen based on studies in lab animals.
Now, here's the wild part. Acrylamide is created by the exact same process that makes our food so delicious. It's called the Maillard reaction. When an amino acid called asparagine, which is just naturally in foods like potatoes and grains, combines with certain sugars and then gets blasted with high heat, we're talking anything over 248 degrees Fahrenheit, you get that beautiful brown color and that rich, amazing flavor. But you also get acrylamide. Yeah, it's kind of a package deal. And this isn't some obscure chemical you only find in rare foods. Nope. It's in some of the most common things we eat every day. Potato products like fries and chips are, of course, major sources. But so are cereal-based foods. Think about it. Cookies, crackers, even your morning toast. And yep, it's also in coffee, formed when the beans are being roasted. All right, so let's pivot from that unseen chemical to one we all know way too well, sodium. We know salt makes snacks taste incredible, but its health risks are just as significant. And we're not talking about minor stuff here. A diet that's consistently high in sodium is directly linked to some really serious chronic illnesses. The big one is high blood pressure, which is basically a gateway to cardiovascular and kidney diseases. It can even lead to eye damage. And this table right here, wow, it really shows you just how much sodium we're talking about. Take a look at the range in these super common snacks. 100 grams of potato chips can pack over 600 milligrams of sodium. Pretzels can go even higher. But check out crackers. That range is it's staggering. It can go all the way up to over 11,000 milligrams. So to put all that into perspective, the World Health Organization recommends a maximum of 5 grams of salt per day. That's only 2,000 milligrams of sodium. When you look back at those numbers on the last slide, you realize how quickly a single snack can just gobble up a huge chunk of your daily limit. Okay, so with these two big risks in mind, the question is, what can we do about it? Well, turns out the food industry actually has a whole toolbox of strategies, and it all starts long before the food even gets to the factory.
For acrylamide, it all starts with the potato itself. The choices made at this stage can dramatically affect the outcome. For instance, using low-sugar varieties of potatoes is a huge first step, and how they're stored is crucial. Storing potatoes in the cold, like in your fridge, actually increases the sugar content, which means more acrylamide later. That's why the industry aims to store them above 43 degrees Fahrenheit.
And the risk reduction just keeps going in the factory. Processors can take several key steps. Cutting thicker fries, for example, means less surface area, which cuts down on acrylamide formation. Blanching them in hot water helps wash away some of those sugars we talked about. They can even use certain food-safe dips. And finally, a really big one, simply frying at a lower temperature. Keeping it below 350 degrees Fahrenheit makes a huge difference. Now, what about sodium? Well, as this quote says, even though snacks aren't our main source of food, reducing the salt in them can have a real, measurable health benefit for all of us. So the industry has some pretty clever ways to tackle this. One is the stealth health approach. They just gradually reduce the salt over time, so our taste buds barely even notice the change. They can also use mineral salt substitutes that give you that salty taste with way less sodium. And finally, they can boost flavor with other enhancers, kind of tricking our senses into tasting that satisfying flavor without all the extra sodium. So that's what the industry can do. But what about when you're the one in the kitchen or placing the order? Well, the good news is you actually have a ton of control. Here it is. This is the single most important thing to remember. For any food that might form acrylamide, potatoes, bread, cookies, you name it, your goal is not a deep, dark brown. It's a light, golden color. The darker that food gets, the more acrylamide has formed. Simple as that.
And this picture shows it perfectly. This is the golden color you're aiming for. So just think golden, not brown. It's a really simple visual cue, and it's your best guide, whether you're frying at home or ordering fries from a restaurant.
And here are a few more really practical tips from the FDA. Always follow the cooking instructions on packaged foods. They put them there for a reason. As we said, don't overcook. Don't store your raw potatoes in the fridge. And here's a great little kitchen trick. Soaking raw potato slices in water for about 20 minutes before you cook them helps remove some of those sugars. It's a super simple step that can really make a difference. So from the Maillard reaction to mineral salt substitutes, there is a lot more going on in our snacks than meets the eye. The perfect fry is this amazing balance of chemistry, agriculture, and cooking technique. So now that you're in on the secrets, will you look at that golden crunch the same way?